It's actually attached, I think. No, it's not. Clearly not. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. That went into the bin again.
Welcome back to Cornish Repair. A little different this time. We're starting off in the kitchen, and there's a reason for being in the kitchen, and it will become very, very clear very shortly. So in this episode, as the title suggests, we're actually working on an Xbox Series X. I've actually got two of them. I picked them up off Facebook Marketplace for quite a good deal, really, but we'll see whether or not we get these working. But yeah, let's just quickly show you why we are in the kitchen. This is why we're in the kitchen. This is how they came. Yeah, I don't really know where to start, to be honest. I've not really gone through these at all, so I don't really know whether we have all the parts in here or not. So, yeah, I guess we just start taking apart each bag one by one. I don't know. Let's move this one to the side. To be honest, I've not really worked on the Xbox Series X before, and this is going to be a new adventure. But I suppose really I was expecting them in some sort of bits, but yeah, we're going to be just going through every single piece here, and I assume both Xbox Series X's have been completely dismantled. I mean, it looks like it. So yeah, so I'm assuming that this looks like power supply unit. So you got the power supply unit there, one of them appears to be the back cover. So yeah, one back cover, rubber support for the bottom, another rubber support. It seems like the primary heatsink for the main board. It's like you've got two X clamps here. We've got one main board. There's a second main board. Some sort of covering. Again, like I said, I'm quite unfamiliar with the Xbox Series X with the covering. One fan, two fans. Oh, the rubber strap. The last thing in here is the shell for one of the consoles. It appears that it's got some leaves. I don't know how well you can see this in here. And that's everything in that bag. They've eaten all this looks like rabbit food in the bag. And now into the second bag. There is a second power supply unit. The main frame for both the boards. The secondary board with this is with the Southbridge on it. We've got another one here. This has actually got this frame still attached to it, along with the main sort of frame to the build. On here, we've got the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chip. One drive here. Another drive. Drive cover, case cover. Another one of those covers. So these are the Nexus boards. So there's another Wi-Fi board. I'm not too sure what this board is, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. So I can see that those two boards there, they're saying this one I haven't actually seen anywhere else at the moment. That'll be why I haven't found it anywhere else. There it is. So it's still in the bag. So we've got two of those now. I suppose that's a positive. I don't know what they are, but we've got two of them. The ribbon cable between Southbridge board and the main board. There's the frame for the main board. There's another one. There's the second one. Got another back panel. Another heatsink, another sort of frame, and there's another one in here. The other case, and a bag of screws, and the last thing in here, an anti-static bag with what appears to have 3 MOSFETs in there. That's everything. This is going to take some time to get around, and I'm going to look at going through each component sort of one at a time here. I had a look at a couple of websites that have been really good at sort of explaining how you would maybe check certain components. So I think one of the problems really is I don't know what Southbridge board goes with the main board. Yeah, so I'm not sure which one goes with which. And seeing as they're being in plastic bags as well, I have no idea how much damage could be on these. There could be components knocked off everywhere. So I'm going to leave the kitchen. We'll take this out into my work area, one board at a time, and give them a test, really. Yeah, see whether or not we can get these working. Catch you in my usual repair area.
So I've moved into the garage, and before I did bring everything just out in the piles that it was, I decided to put everything that was important into anti-static bags. So we've got the ribbon cables here, the Nexus cable and ribbon between the boards. I've got the Wi-Fi board in here, and I've got the Nexus boards in there. We've got one of the boards with the Southbridge on, the main board in there, The second main board, so there's two main boards. This is the other south bridge board. This is one that's attached to the heatsink as well. So further, I had a quick look at these main boards, so I'm going to pull them out because something I didn't think to check at the time, which was a bit silly, was whether or not there were any SSD drives. So these are the two main boards that I have and that I received in the same box or bag, two bags. So underneath these, this is where the SSD drive is kept. This one here does contain the SSD drive. So this is where the problem comes in. This one here has no SSD drive. Out of the two boards and all of the components that we have, it appears that I'm only going to be able to potentially fix one, and that's a big ask in itself as well, because these have been rattling in a bag for however long. I did contact the seller, but they haven't responded as to whether or not they know that one of these boards didn't have the SSD. I'm going to assume that they did know that it was missing, seeing as they haven't actually responded to me. But anyway, based on these two boards, it looks like I'm not going to be able to get this one to work, because I think that this is the one which has this SSD in it. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think based on the fact that this one has had the screws stripped and this one's looking in quite a good condition, I think that this board here is the one that is going to be the one we can get working again. Beyond that, I think what I'm going to have to do is inspect this board and see whether or not I can get this one working. And the problem with that comes with that is that these Southbridge boards are also married to their own main board. So I need to get the Southbridge boards working in order to be able to test and eliminate which South board potentially does go with this board here. It's going to take a little while, but I think the main thing I need to do first is to check whether or not these Southbridge boards work. Okay, so with the main boards away, I've got the daughter boards or the Southbridge boards here. Now, I think my first plan is to basically test both of these boards. I want to make sure that they can work. A way to do that, I looked at actually the Retro 6 wiki for repair guides on these boards. What it says on there is if you connect up the Nexus board and the 12-volt power supply to this, we should be able to get a single beep on press of the Xbox button, the white light come on and then immediately turn off. And apparently that's a sign that this board is actually in an okay condition. But I think first thing to do really is to have a good visual inspection to see if there's any problems. If there's anything missing, see if there's any knocked off components, especially seeing, like I said, it's been rattling around in a bag. What I was going to do is I was going to maybe come in with the microscope and just have a quick check on sort of both boards here. I mean, it's quite obvious there's a couple of details straight away that I can notice. This one here has a Nexus connector, whereas this one here doesn't have the Nexus connector. It also looks like there's been quite a bit of work on both of these. So I'm going to bring in the microscope so we can have a look. There's a few other little things to note just from this visual inspection straight off. I can see I mean, we saw this earlier, but there's a lot of what appears to be potentially corrosion, but it could be just nicks from when it's in the bag, just bashing around. But they're the main things I can see. There's like sort of maybe some sort of damage here. But other than that, they look on, you know, a distance, look okay. Let's bring in the microscope and have a closer inspection. Okay, now with the microscope, let's have a look. So we're going to look at the one with the Nexus connector removed first. So that's up in this region here. I don't know, there's a lot of flux in that area, and obviously the connector's gone. You can see this residue that's left on there. I believe that's maybe flux from when it was taken off. It's kind of everywhere, it's spread around. I may try and clean this up, see what else has gone on, and maybe just compare the two boards next to one another and see if there's anything else missing in that area. Try and provide a little bit of heat to the board to try and loosen it off. So yeah, looking at this, it's really hard to tell with these traces, but these two here, there to this, I assume is the ground pad. The others look like they're okay, as if they're still there. Okay, let's compare it to the board that has the Nexus connector on it. It's like this one's been reworked. It's like someone's taken this off. Just test these. Yeah, there's a lot of flux in this region. So they must have taken this off. It looks like it's on okay. It looks melted there. I don't know what happened down here. This connector's being melted. I'm assuming they've applied a lot of heat in that area and it's just melted the connector as they've attached it on. A lot of flux residue. But everything looks okay. So on both boards, the only thing that is different between them, from what I can see, is the actual Nexus connector itself. I cannot see any other components missing. So other than that, let's have a scan around the rest of the board and see if we can see any other problems anywhere else. Other than the Nexus connector, that's the only thing that I can see wrong with this board. So I'll look at trying to get hold of a connector and reinstalling it on here. So inspection of the other board. Okay, so this board looks all right. The Nexus connector looks like it needs a bit of a cleaning up. So I'm going to just clean that. And I think before we start working on the other one, let's see if we can get this one to work with a Nexus board. So going from above you, I'm going to start looking at this one here. The one on the right here, this is the one with the Nexus port. We're going to look at that one and then see if we get any power to it. Now I've got two of them. I suppose I may as well test both of them at the same time. Those are the Nexus boards. These are the Nexus ribbon cables. This one feels in quite a good condition. And this one here has none of the rigidity of this one. So I have a feeling this one may not work. I've actually brought out both power supplies because I thought, well, while I'm doing this, I may as well test and see whether or not they're working. We won't be able to test them fully because they won't be under load, but if we can just see if we get a 12-volt supply from them, that will at least give us an indication that they may be working. This is the connector for the daughter board here, so I'm just going to test this one, see whether or not we get 12 volts out of there. Power's on, and we're getting 12 volts. And we're getting 12 volts through that connector as well. So that's a good sign. Let's just test the other one. Power on. And we're getting 12 volts on that one as well, and 12 volts. So that's a good sign. Both of these power supplies appear to be working. I'm going to leave this one here while we test the daughter board. So let's give this a go. Let's see if we get the power, see if anything happens. Power is on. And now let's hit this button here with the light on, and then it turned off again straight away. That, I think, is a positive thing based on the Retro 6 information on their website. So just hitting this here, we get the light on and straight off again. I'm going to turn the power off. While we're here, let's test a different board. Test the second Nexus board. And let's try this board. Getting the same positive result there. So that's really good. Both those Nexus boards seem to be working. And based on the information that I'm gathering, this daughter board is working as well as this ribbon cable. Time to test the second ribbon cable. Now we're on and press the button. Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I think that one's just going to go in the bin. I only need one of these to work. Both these boards are working, so that's good. This ribbon cable is working. I'm going to put them safely back away and we'll look at the other board. So with this board here, we need to replace it with this Nexus connector. First, I'm going to try and tin these pads. I may try tinning this connector. But yeah, let's see if we can get this on and see if we get the same result with this board as we did with the other board. Somehow, I did not record myself absolutely butchering putting on the Nexus connector. It's a bit of a mess. I apologize. I've just finished. Somehow I broke one of the legs off the Nexus connector and I bent one at the same time as well. And I've gone through and I've checked this. They're all now connected to the board. They're all going to where they should be going. There's no bridging apart from these two legs where I broke one of the legs off, but they are both thankfully ground pins. So that's a bit of luck. So I'm just going to clean this now and we'll test this board out. But I cannot believe I didn't record me doing all of that really sloppy repair. Next time I'll learn. What I did is I pre-tinned this, and by doing that I pretty much broke one of the legs off. I then got it on the board. A few of the pins were unconnected and I've redone them here. It's not very clean. I really apologize for that, but I am learning. and it's just an experience really. I know from next time what to do and what not to do with these connectors. They're very, very delicate, and I think I won't do what I did this time. So I'm just trying to clean this up, and then we'll try and put some power to this and see whether or not we get any response to this, just like we did with the other board. And then we can move on to the main boards and see if there's any issues with those. Let's bring in the power supply. Let's bring in one of the connectors and the working ribbon cable and see whether or not we get the same response. Let's plug the power supply in. Put some power to this. And now let's try this board. Here we go. Nothing. Okay, nothing on this board. Power off again. I'm going to just clean this connector just in case it's the connector. Yep, absolutely nothing here. We're not getting anything on this board. So while it's on, let's see if we are getting power. Volts to the board. Checking any of these rails really. 300 millivolts there. Not entirely sure what I should be getting anywhere, to be honest though. Nothing over here. Okay, so that wasn't turning on. My next step is to put them side by side, see if there's any maybe obvious things, and I'm going to just maybe just give some random probing on some of these rails to see whether or not we've got any shorts going on. Maybe I should have done that to begin with. But let's see if we've got anything. Let's see how things are going in the 12-volt rail. This is the board that is working. And we've got a high resistance there. And on this side, it's not working. Similar sort of readings there. It's not a short. Let's go round. I'm going to put this one on ground pin here. Should be ground. Let's have a quick check. So that's the ground pin of the power connector. So I've got that one in there. And I'm just going to sort of probe around on some of these rails that we've got to see if we get any low resistance. So that's looking pretty good. Got in kilowatts and rising. We're in mega ohms. That's a short. That's a short. Let's check. Just check that one in here. Okay, yeah, right. We've got kilo ohms, sort of similar sort of reading as the 12-volt line. Not entirely sure what this does and where it goes. Let's just double check that. I'm just going to hit in continuity mode. Put that on the ground pin. Yep, so we've got a short there. This inductor, where we've got a short, is back into ground, and where we've got the beep, we've got a short. And yeah, so prodding it around at some of these capacitors here. So we've got a short going on all of these. That little one in there. And on the other side. So we haven't got a short on this side, but it also goes in here into this QL8G chip. Got no short on anything coming out of this from this one here, but I'm not sure if that's ground or not. I'm not entirely sure what's on the other side of this board. Exactly there. We have these capacitors here. Let's see if we get anything on those. So we've got a short across all of these. So not this one here. So this is on one side of the inductor. This seems to be on the other side. And these are showing a short on both sides when they should only really be one on one side there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load up the thermal imaging camera and I'm going to inject maybe 1 volt in here and see whether we get any heat spots popping up and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to inject 1 volt into this inductor and I'm going to use the thermal imaging camera. I'm going to see whether or not anything else around here starts heating up. As you can see in the top left hand corner there, we've got the thermal imaging camera. On this inductor, I'm about to inject 1 volt and hopefully we maybe see something light up in one of these capacitors around here. So injecting 1 volt now. Taking 0.2 volts though. I'm not seeing anything light up on any of these capacitors. There is the little one inside. No, nothing seems to be lighting up there. Let's have a look at the back of the board. So with the thermal camera on the bottom of the board, let's see whether or not we get anything lighting up now. Oh, there we go. Can you see that? It's on the left. There's that one capacitor, I think it is, on the right there, that is lighting up. And just try that again. Yeah, there we go. We can see that capacitor's getting warm. Let's have a look at that one on the back of the board. So that was one of those two. The capacitor that was lighting up was this one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take that one off the board and see whether or not we still have a short. I'm going to add a little bit of flux to this. I'm going to put a little bit of low mark solder on either side of this capacitor. And then I'm going to come in with some hot air to try and take this off a little bit. There we go. Just leave that on the board there like that. And let's do an inspection. Has the short gone? So there it is, just hanging in there. It's not making any connection with anything. So do a couple of little tests here, checks whether or not we've got the short anymore, and we can also check that capacitor just to show that that one is not working. So we're going to put this in continuity mode. So ohms, continuity. I'll bring in the microscope so we can see this as well. So this shouldn't beep when we put our probes on both sides. So there we go. That's showing that there is a short circuit through the capacitor. That capacitor shouldn't have continuity between either side of the capacitor. Let's flip the board here. Let's look at the circuit that was having the issue on this inductor. I'm going to put one of the probes on ground and see if we have any continuity showing any sort of short on this inductor anymore. So let's have a quick look. Nothing. Nope, not at all. Just a single beat just at the beginning there. Let's just check this resistance. Put it in resistance mode. And we're in mega ohms and falling into the kilo ohms. So no more short there at all. So that's gone. I don't know what the value of this capacitor should be. I do know that this other board is working perfectly fine. So I may remove it from the working board, this one here, just to measure it. And then I can put the correct capacitor back in the same place. So let's do that. So this capacitor was a 22 microfarad. So I'm just going to remove the one that I left on the board, the short-circuited one. And replace that with an own working one. A little bit of flux, there we go, that should flow into position. Let's give that another quick test. Make sure we have no short circuit there. Should have ground on one side. Yep, and on the other side. So that's good. Let's check the other side of the board. Just make sure that it is gone. Here it is. Continuity mode. Brilliant. We've got nothing going wrong here. So let's put this together and see whether or not this works now. Okay, with the Nexus board attached, I just need to attach the power supply. And then turn it on. And now hopefully we get the result we were looking for. So with the pressing the on switch, we should get the white light, a beep, and then off again. And hopefully that is a good sign for this daughter board. Ah, brilliant. Look at that. Fantastic. Just what we wanted to see. The light on, straight off again. Brilliant. So that means that we've got two daughter boards potentially working. And now we just need to look at the main board and see whether or not we can have a look at both of those, although only one of them is going to be working. So let's do that. Okay, so here are both of the main boards. I'm primarily going to focus on the main board that has the SSD drive, and I can't remember which one it was, so I'm just going to open up the casing and see. So it's not this one. We're not going to be looking at this one, and this is the one we're going to be focusing on and seeing whether or not there's any problem with this board, and then we can put this board with the daughter boards and see whether or not we can get anything working. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to put that to one side, and I'm going to start really by checking whether or not there are any shorts on any of the inductors that I can see and the 12-volt rail that's coming in here. So I'm just going to go into continuity mode, and I'm just basically looking for some beeps, or I'm hoping not to find any beeps. So there's no sign of a short on the 12-volt. I'm going to just go poking around some of these inductors just to see if there's anything popping up. Nothing in particular is shouting out at me. I can't really see any problems. No real problems here. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to have a close visual inspection on both of these boards, maybe compare the two, see if there's anything missing on one or the other, because they were, once again, I reiterate, they were in a bag, just flapping around like this. So there could be loads of things wrong. This one's covered in dust, which is the one I'm actually wanting to look at. So I'll bring in the microscope, see if we can see anything. I'm going to start up by the HDMI port in the corner, and I'm just going to work my way around the board, and if I see anything, I'll slow it down. Oh, hello. We have a little capacitor here that's, I don't know if that's holding on or not. That shouldn't be flapping around, and that does look like a pad that should have this on. Okay, looks like there's something missing here, here, and here. Oh, and there. There. That's very close to where this one's still hanging on. So we've got this one here, and then a little bit further down from there, we've got what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's that side of the board. Let's check the other side first before we move on, just to see if there's any other components anywhere on this board that are missing. Everything looks good on this side of the board from what I can tell. Well, there's a little bug. Whatever that is, it's very, very small. These tweezers are tiny. This is finger for comparison. Right. Back to the repair. Let's have a look, see if we can see those on this other board. And just visually looking at them, I can see them there. Let's just confirm that under the microscope so you guys can see that as well. But I think it was going to be obvious that they're going to be on there. This one here, we can see that that little capacitor's in place. And then down here, these are all here, these four. And then, yeah, there's none missing here, no clean pads. So I'm going to have to take these off, the ones that I need, and put them on the board that I think is the one that's going to work. See, that one wasn't attached. Where has that just gone? It's in here. Just see it there. There we go. So that one wasn't attached either. Okay, so that is actually all of those installed now. It's taken a little while. These are so small. So I'm just cleaning up the area. I'm hoping they are now all attached, but I'll give it a good old scrub with a brush in a minute, and that, as I've been doing them, has shown whether or not they are fixed to the board or not. They're a bit wonky, but I'm going to take it as a win if they stay on the board, because these are so small to deal with. I've lost a couple of them as they've blown away or flicked away when in the tweezers. They've just pinged off. So here's the moment of truth, really, when I really give this a good old IPA soak and a scrub with a brush. Like I said, they're not very tidy, but they are attached. The one thing I'm going to quickly do a check on is to whether or not there's any bridging going on between those. So I'm just going to put it into continuity mode and have a quick check across them to make sure there's no continuity across the two, any sort of joined solder. So no connectivity there. Okay, so that one wasn't on. Little poke. It's going to give these a prod. They're pretty much, they are good. This one I have to redo. Okay, so that one's reattached. Hopefully this time it is on. We're just going to have to try this out really now. See if we get any life out of this at all. Sort of the moment of truth part. All right, let's rebuild it. Well, I don't know what to say here. I really don't know what to say. Let's see. Other screen on. That's just on the microscope at the moment. It should flick across if something happens. I really don't know if anything's going to happen. Let's turn the power on. And now the on button. We got a light. It's staying on. It's gone off. It stayed on for a little while, but it did go off again. Now I don't know if that could be to do with the daughter board and it not turning on because of the daughter board. I may just switch that out and try that again. Also, there's no heatsink on, so this could be warming up quickly. Let's just hit it one last time, just see what happens. We're on, light stays on, off. Okay. I'm going to swap the daughter board, see if that makes any difference at all. There is heat on that APU though. It did get warm. I'm not hopeful. I am not hopeful here. Let's put power to the board again. Now press the power button. We've got the light on. Nothing on HDMI. The light is staying on. It's getting brighter. And it's gone off again. That stayed on a lot longer than the other one. But It's not too hot at the moment. I'm going to just give that a go again. I'm just going to press it again, see what happens. Oh yeah, that gets very hot. Very, very hot. Very hot, very quick. That could have turned off because of heat. It stayed on a lot longer than the last one, and it heated up very, very quickly. Let's see if I can put it back together again, or at least get the heatsink on this, and maybe rebuild it a little bit better and see what we get. Heatsink's on. It's in a relatively sort of complete position. Let's give this a go now that it's got a heatsink on. You never know. What's going on? Oh, hang on. We've got something coming on. Oh my God. Wow. It's working. We have signal. Oh, wow. It's it's turned on. I can't believe this. This was in a bag. There were bits off it. I can't actually remember which board this one was, this Southbridge board. But I mean, one of them was working perfectly fine. There was no problem at all. And one of them, I had to replace the Nexus connector. And I also needed to find the short that was happening. And actually, I think that this board here that we've got here, this is the one with that short happening. So, oh, this is fantastic. I can't believe that this is actually working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go quickly grab a controller. I've just got a wired controller. I don't have anything else here. Wow, I really wasn't expecting this to be working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this console at some point. I'm going to put it all back together again. I'll come back once this is all connected and built again. So I've actually had this pretty much in this condition like this with the backplate off whilst I've been testing it, because I wanted to make sure that the CD drive, when I put it in, because I had two, I didn't want to put one in and then have to take this out again. So I've had, until now, this is literally the last part where I'm now putting it all back together. I've tested the drive. I'll load it up again and I'll show you all that in a minute. So as I've said, I have actually turned this on before, but here we go. We'll just set this up so you can see this again. Helps if I turn the power on. Let's try that again. There we go, power on. And that should start displaying on the screen. There we go. As you can see in the background. And there we are. I've had this up and running. I've actually had my son play this a little bit. I've checked that the controller connects and works. So there we go, controller on, and we're working around there. I've checked the USB ports. They're all perfectly fine as well. I've also got Star Wars Lego. I always put this in the wrong way around, to be honest. There we go. That's just turned up. It's spinning. Let's just show that it can find the Wi-Fi. There we go. Searching for the wireless networks. This is my Wi-Fi in my garage. There we go. Connected via the Wi-Fi. So that's that connected to the Wi-Fi. And now I can plug in the Ethernet. Ethernet gone in. Wired connection on. All services available. So that's all working fine with the wired connection as well. And yeah, let's go back. Let's just test the Lego with the CD in the drive. We should have sound on there. Here we go. We're in the game. But yeah, there we go. That works. I'll stop that now. So yeah, that's all working perfectly. I really wasn't expecting much when I opened up those two bags. It was quite surprising, really, that this was going to be working. So yeah, hopefully I can get something like this working again in the future. Maybe I'll work on another Xbox Series X. I'm going to be looking at a motherboard in the next video. Yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. I was very, very happy to get this one working again. Hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.